right. Let's see. What do we have? Let's finish setting up here. Make any adjustments. That should be good. Great. And it looks to me like we are all set. So yeah, hello everyone. Today we're gonna do a continuation of what we worked on the past couple weeks. So we started off with Substance 3D Sampler, and we created a custom material based off of a photograph. And we added a bunch of other stuff to it, made a nice custom tiled material. Last week, we implemented that material. We applied it to what you see here inside of Photoshop, inside of Substance 3D Stager. And then we created this render for Photoshop, right? So this week, we're actually going to work in Photoshop and composite this against different backgrounds and stuff. Just play with 3D and 2D together. So you probably hear a scraping noise being picked up by my microphone. So this is part of, I'm having a huge main level renovation in my home. It's been going on for about a month now. A couple months left to go, probably. But that's my flooring guy. So he's installing some flooring and preparing the floor for the installation. So, yeah, I mean, it's not that troublesome, but, you know, in a little bit, we won't have to listen to these things anymore. Yesterday was worse because yesterday we had some demolition going on of tile and things like that, which is very, very, very loud and very dusty too. Anyhow, here we are inside of Photoshop. And if we look in here, we've got our background, we've got our rendered image from Stager. Here's our background from Stager. So I can take that out, right? And we just have our regular image, which is pretty nice. But something I can also do, right, is apply some of these materials. So the first thing we're going to do is look at Substance 3D materials inside of Photoshop and lighting related to those, and how to apply those to our 2D images. And then we might bring up some Firefly, generate a background that we can use to place this thing in. So kind of two different projects here today. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and make this happen. Here we are. And yeah, also those who are here live, please do say hello in the chat. Let me know what you're up to. If you've done anything like this before, right? This kind of newer stuff in the whole Adobe Creative ecosystem. So exciting. All right, let's get moving inside of Photoshop here. So the materials panel here, like it doesn't show up by default. You have to go to Window, and you can find materials right there. And then you get your materials panel. So I've got my materials. So of course I could add in the material I used, you know, to actually create this. But I've also got some Adobe Substance materials here, and we can get more in Substance 3D assets and bring those into Photoshop. So what I'm gonna do is select my background color here, which is from Stager, and let's have a look at some of these. Malachite. It's doing its thing. There we go. It's that easy to use Substance 3D materials inside of Photoshop. So what I can do is look down here, and now that I've actually got a material applied, I can change its properties. So it's using a medium resolution right now. We can stick that on high if we want. You can change the repetition across X and Y. You can choose to repeat uniformly if you want, or not. Which is actually funny, because I just had a conversation with my flooring guy, and we're getting wood put in, right? And he's asking, like, you know, apparently some people like it stepped. Like a very step sequence. Other people like it very random. I like it random. So we're doing a random pattern here. So I don't want that to repeat uniformly. So substance properties, we have presets. This is one of the coolest things about substance materials, that you can have presets in here. Make it really easy for people to, you know, tweak things. So there's pastel stone, intense stone, dense stone, right? And then you can choose the different colors. So if we wanted this to be more in line with the red that we're using, we could use our color picker from Photoshop, and there's our stone color. Excellent. I'm not sure if I want this particular color though. Well, look at this egg crate. Let's give that a shot. So it looks like sound dampening material, right? That you put to reduce reflections in a recording environment. You can change the color, the egg crate offset. Some really cool stuff here. I am really, really digging a lot of the stuff that Adobe is doing with integrating the Substance 3D collection into more traditional Creative Cloud applications, right? I think it's a really neat damaged foam. Oh no. It's a really neat way of doing this, in my opinion. Check out some more of these. Oh, that's interesting. Wow, that's like Dark Moon. That's kind of interesting. I like that. Let's use Dark Moon. I think this is the one I'm going to stick with, actually. So let's hide those materials up there. And color variation. We'll just play with these sliders a bit, you know? Yeah, please do, like, you know, post in the chat. Don't be shy. So, for those who are new, I stream on behalf of Adobe for Education as part of the Adobe Education Leaders group of live streamers. And you can find us on the calendar for Adobe for Education live events and things like that. It's fun. Yeah, there's a couple other of us who stream pretty regularly, like once a week. So there's myself, there's Kenneth, there's Georgina, there's Hannah. We all stream pretty much consistently once a week. And then there's a couple other AELs who stream, you know, at some more variable schedules, right? Let's see here. I think that's probably okay. And of course we can change the color here. If you want to make it a little more blue. Oh gosh, what was that? Lots of noises. All right. Let's set that up with a bit of a violet color. That's a little extreme. Let's pull that down to a more gray. There we go. It's pretty nice. And then, now we've got materials here in our little tab. We also have lighting. So if I choose lighting, we can actually change the lighting of our scene. So changing the exposure level. There we go. Much lighter. Let's take it down a bit. Much darker. Yeah. Let's go a little bit lighter than that. We can change the height of our light. And I think this is probably in centimeters, just because that's what most things are measured in when it comes to 3D. And the rotation of our light. We could change sort of its origin point. I would like to see in the future, you can see the shadows cast a little bit different here as I change this. Because Substance 3D materials do have depth built into them, you know? Very cool. I'm trying to find a rotation that's going to work for me. In accordance with the shadows I already have from Stager, right? I think that's going to be pretty good right there. And of course, we can also add a color to our light. By default, it's a white light. Go a little crazy, give it a red tint, right? It's almost like you're putting a gel over the light. And let's ease up on that a little bit. Make it not so red, make it a little more. Oh my gosh. There we go. Nice. Hey, Christina's here. Christina is also an AEL, Adobe Education Leader. Welcome, Christina. So we're doing, this is the third part of a series here, really. A continuation of stuff we've been doing with Substance 3D collection tools. First week was sampler and creating a material. Second week was applying that material in Stager to different 3D models. And then the third one is right now, where we're taking the render from Stager and we're just playing with it inside of Photoshop to composite it with other things. So I'm compositing right now with a background material. That's pretty good. So I'm gonna say, let's go ahead and export this. My flooring guys dropping stuff. Yeah, so we can export. Quick export as a PNG file. Let's go. Hand up. We'll just call this like hand1.png. And I'll upload this to Behance as a project afterwards. Yeah, so Christina says, what program are you using? Photoshop. Yeah, this is Photoshop. So Photoshop has a materials panel right here. So this PSD was generated from Stager, right? Substance 3D Stager. And with the PSD inside of Photoshop, I'm going through and I'm adding materials and adjusting lighting and things like that inside of the PSD render from Stager. So we got like 3D and 2D together. Yes, it is excellent. Yeah. So let's see what else we might have. Ooh. All right, so we got that done, right? Let's kind of like dismiss that, dismiss this. This is our render right here, right? So the next thing I want to do is actually place this into an environment that we generate. And we're going to use some probably neural filters and things like that to make it blend in really nice, right? So this is the bulk of what we're dealing with here. And actually, I don't need the materials panel open anymore, so I'm going to close that. And then we can focus directly on this composition. All right. Chrome, I summon thee. Boom. Hey, it's Firefly. Yeah, so I've already gone through and put a couple prompts in before the stream. Like this one here, right? So I put in to Firefly, vast wooded landscape in the evening, darkness, ultra realistic, God rays and dead leaves. Gravestones. Let's add gravestones. Hey, Kevin. It is Kevin. Another AEL. I got like a bunch of shit. I've got a bunch of AELs here. Thank you for the support, all. That's cool. Look at that. That's beautiful. Oh, wow. Like, I want to save all of these. This one, super nice. Ugh. So Kevin asks, when is Photoshop incorporating Substance 3D tools like Illustrator? Yeah, so I don't know if you're just popping in, Kevin, but we were looking at the materials panel. So if you go to Window, Materials, you probably know this, but you've got your Substance 3D materials here, right? And I popped in some materials into my background image, right? And then we adjusted material properties, we adjusted the lighting, and this is kind of our result. But now I'm kind of switching gears a little bit. We want to do a little Firefly, and yes. So let's do that. And yeah, if you just popped in, as you say, Kevin, you haven't heard like the noises you might be hearing. I've got a flooring guy above me installing a floor, so it's a bit loud. But that's okay, because I'm gonna get a cool floor out of it. What are you gonna do? Right. Firefly. There we go. All right, so looking at these, I mean, this one's really good too. Damn. Let's go ahead and save this guy. I'm gonna download this guy here. One thing I do wish we had is inside of Firefly. Let's make some variations so it shows similar. One thing I do wish we had already was the ability to upscale, right? Native to Firefly. Oh, look at this one. Damn. Pretty nice. All right, I'm gonna go with the one that I downloaded though, because we gotta go with something, right? Yeah, I'm hoping for upscaling soon. I mean, the way they are advancing things in Firefly. My understanding too is that some 3D stuff is coming to Firefly next after, and nobody's told me this, right? I've just gleaned it from conversation, like a 3D model to image kind of deal. We can put in a prompt, right? But yeah, I would love upscaling, because I mean, it's pretty good as it is right now, but it's not perfect, right? Yeah, let's close out materials again. We're gonna just focus on this guy. So Kevin and Christina, or anybody else in the chat, is anybody planning on going to Adobe Max this year? I saw they just publicly announced the dates for Max. It was either this morning or it was yesterday, one of the two. And I need to go this year because I haven't been in like, gosh, it's probably been like 4 years. I think it was, the last time I spoke at Max was the last time I went. And that was in 2018. And then I switched institutions. So I was just kind of scrambling in 2019. And then of course 2020 hit. And, right, COVID for the next couple years. And yeah, so I'm hoping to swing it this year and actually get over to Max, because it's really the only, there's hardly any other events to see people like Kevin, like Christina, like other people who I would used to see at different events. Max is like the only thing left, it seems, sadly. Am I speaking there? As of right now, I am not speaking at Max. Unfortunately, I would love to speak at Max again. I spoke at Max for over a decade. But, things change. And October, it's October 10th through 12th. And then the pre-conference is a couple days ahead of that. Yeah, AEL Summit, Kevin, I don't think that's happening. Again. But I guess it's not a surprise at this point, right? So, so for those who don't know, the AEL Summit, it was a yearly kind of summertime event that Adobe would put on for Adobe education leaders. We would go mostly to San Jose, but we had it in a couple different places, sometimes San Francisco, went to New York City one time. Right before COVID, we were scheduled to go to Washington, D.C. for our summit. But COVID stopped that, right? Anyway. Let's bring that Firefly into Photoshop. There it is. And one thing right now, things might get loud. One thing right now that's interesting about Firefly is that you can't remove the watermark. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to use it for commercial purposes, and you're not allowed to remove the watermark. So we'll keep that. Oh, Christina mentions that she was 2 times for the AEL Summit. Or is that the... Yeah, it must be the AEL Summit, because you mentioned San Jose. And they've never had Max in San Jose, because San Jose is tiny, right? They couldn't really have Max there. All right, let's go over here. I'm gonna grab my rendered image, and let's pull that layer into our Firefly comp. The target document has a different depth than the source document. Oh no. Yes, go ahead, I don't care. Yeah. So Kevin asks, have you used Firefly for assets in your classes? I have encouraged, for one thing, I've encouraged all of my students to register for Firefly and to make use of it. In terms of actual, like, assigning things, I haven't done anything in particular, but I teach a class on user experience design and user interface design, which Kevin probably knows. And inside of that class, I've been encouraging them to make use of all sorts of AI generative stuff. So Firefly just came on the scene, like a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. So, I've been using like Midjourney and DALL-E 2 and Stable Diffusion and things like that, ChatGPT, for generating ideas. So for ideation. So in my class, like, students have to come up with project concepts, right? So like mobile apps and things like that, websites, whatever it is. And as part of that concepting experience, I find tools like Firefly and the rest to be really useful for trying to, like, get ideas, figure stuff out. So that's kind of what I encourage my students to use it for. Kevin mentions more chapters to review. Yes. And I have more chapters to write. So yeah, Kevin is assisting an AEL Emeritus and I in a book endeavor that we're involved in. Yeah. So I know I've got up above me, I've got my 2 latest books. So they both came out like in the last 6 months. So I'm a little booked out, but I've got my Creative Cloud Classroom in a book from Adobe Press, then Mastering Adobe Animate 2023 with Pact. It's the 3rd edition. That's my COVID book. They're both COVID books, really, but you know, the Creative Cloud Classroom in a book I wrote last year, mostly over the summer months, so we're a little bit more free then. The 1st edition of Mastering Adobe Animate, I wrote like October through December of 2020. And I was just like, I'm stuck at home. I might as well just like spend every day writing a damn book, right? Because I can't go anywhere. All right, so let's go ahead and integrate this guy. He deserves, thank you, Christina. Christina says, good job. Yeah. So I don't know when this book is gonna be coming out. Tom knows. Maybe. No, Tom probably doesn't know either. They don't tell authors anything. You know, the publisher usually is like, oh, yeah, you get us the stuff and we'll figure it out later. So you can see here, it's not really quite integrated. We've got this background here, which looks great, right? You can't remove this, right? So, and I always teach my students this when I'm dealing with Photoshop. And that is, if you use the crop tool, you can choose to not delete cropped pixels. So what that means, of course, is if I use the crop tool to just kind of like, I don't know, do something crazy like that, the pixels are still there, right? The badge is still there technically in my Photoshop document. So if the Adobe Firefly team is watching, check that out. If I go to crop, right? I'm like, let's see. Oh, there it is. Still there in the corner. I didn't remove it. I didn't remove the watermark. It's still there. So here we go. So I've got this guy here. Yeah, Kevin mentions thought it was due by end of June. Yeah, so the manuscripts for this forthcoming book are due by June 15th. I have a little bit of 1 chapter to write left. I'm almost done. So we're gonna hit that no problem. But as for the actual release date, I don't know. See, so you can tell right there. So I have disabled my default, what do you call it? Like the default aspect ratio preservation inside of Photoshop. Because I got so used to, I'm honestly, like, after you use Photoshop for a couple decades, like, you're used to holding down Shift when you use a free transform tool, right? So that's the way I do it. Sorry, Adobe. And honestly, Adobe should be more upset with me for other things rather than that. So no big deal. All right, let's put this. Where should we put this guy? See, I don't want it to look too like. That looks pretty good. Yes, exactly. As in all their other applications. It's like, you want to screw with students? You know, make these like integral things like completely opposite across your applications and they'll love you for it, you know? People don't like that. They don't like things to be different. They want things to be consistent. Here, let's go to the crop tool again. I'm gonna crop this down a little bit. That's pretty good. Maybe a little bit more. So I'm just doing a freeform crop here. That's pretty good. And you notice the Firefly watermark is still present. All right. So this is pretty good. Let's go ahead and save this. I'm gonna call this hand 2. And it's a PSD document. There we go. I think my flooring gun might be gone. I don't hear anything else. It's like so quiet now. Amazing. Okay. Let's zoom in a little bit because we got the space, right? We've got the space, everyone. All right, so what I'm gonna use now, and you can do this in a number of different ways, right? I need to better integrate the coloring and lighting of this object into my scene. What I'm gonna use is neural filters. So it's another AI type of thing, right? We're going heavy on the AI in Photoshop today. So what I'm gonna do is go up to my filters, and I'm gonna say neural filters. Here we go. So there are a bunch of neural filters that are available to us. And the one I'm looking for, so we've got harmonization. So harmonize the color and luminosity of one layer to another layer. That sounds pretty good, right? We also have color transfer that might work. I'm gonna go with harmonization. So if you haven't ever used it, you can turn it on and it's gonna download, right? It's gonna pull this down into our own personal Photoshop. And here we go. Reference image is gonna be layer 0, which is my Firefly render. And you can see it's already given me a preview here. So I can turn the strength down, I can turn it up, and I can turn it way up if I want to. And we can make additional adjustments to these sliders. So if you're used to dealing with stuff inside of Lightroom, for instance, you can absolutely, so the saturation here, right? These greens and everything is pretty intense. So I'm gonna pull the saturation up a bit. Move it towards cyan, because we've got a lot of green going on. Green, put that up a bit. Here we go. Shh. Not a lot of blue. There's a little blue, not a lot. It's more yellow. So it does a pretty good job just right out the gate, but I like to make additional adjustments as we go through here, right? In my neural filters. Goodness. So, Kevin and Christina, if you're both still here, I'm curious, when do your semesters end? I've got basically like a week of classes left. So I teach tomorrow. On Wednesday, I have a class. And then I've got Monday and Wednesday of next week, and then we're done. Which is nice. It's one of the benefits, yeah? And then you just get to finish writing any books that you're writing. Well, no, but you get to, I mean, the idea is, like, if you're faculty, that you're working on other things, you know, and you get the summer to do that, right? Which is nice. So I'm just playing with these sliders a little bit more. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my guy's gone. I don't hear him up there any longer. Which is fine. This looks really green now. Let's let's go a little bit. There we go. That's good. I wonder, are there any others involved in education on the chat? live here, give a shout. Whether it's higher education or K-12, you know, it's all still education. I usually bring up our calendar here too. Let me bring that up. Adobe. Here we go, Adobe Education Events, right? So if we go down here, all upcoming events. So we got some things coming up here. So this is today. It's just me today, as far as what's on the calendar, right? There might be other people doing stuff, but who knows? But here we go. So this is a stream on Behance at 11 a.m. every day, and that's Mountain Time. So it's 10 Pacific Time, which is what Adobe goes by, because, right, they live in Pacific Time. That's where their headquarters is, in San Jose. So it looks like we got something tomorrow, Digital Literacy Cafe. I don't know what that is. How do I grade this thing? Well, I could be pretty snarky about this. You grade it by actually using your mind. But, yes. Oh, one of these. Got it. I should be quiet now. Yeah, so that's that. And if we scroll down a little bit more, here we go. Leading educator live streams. They used to be Adobe Education Leader live streams. Yeah, create alongside Adobe Education Leaders. There we go. So yeah, I'm gonna pop this. If you're not aware of this particular URL, I will pop it into the chat here. There you go. There it is. Amazing. And right, Firefly, you can go away, grab the image I want. And yeah, I mean, there's other things we could do to this, right? So let's actually go in. I'm gonna hit OK here. So like, yes, please do. There we go, OK, it's gonna apply that. And you can see it's applied it right here. But what it's also done, which is really nice, is it's gone ahead and selected the thing for me. What this means is that I can go in and do some additional things to it. So one thing I do want to do is remove the shadowing selection here. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my lasso tool just to get rid of that part right there. Maybe a little bit of this. There we go. All right. So with that done, I'm gonna add in a new layer. And what I wanna do is add in some, I wanna put a nice shadow right here. You can see this should be in shadow, and it's not. And no neural filter is going to be able to fix that for me. So I have to do it myself, which is fine. Christina says, the best AEL. I don't know about that, but thank you. Gradient tool. Perfect. And for here, like, you can choose a bunch of like gradient presets in Photoshop, right? And they updated these not too long ago. So I'm gonna choose black and black at completely transparent. And then you can go ahead and just, ooh, shoot, it's not good. Kind of take this like, oh, we're in a radial gradient. That's not what we want. We want a linear gradient. So I gotta make sure to switch that over. There we go. That's more what I'm looking for. Let's take it from there. All right, so you can see it's placed everything in shadow. Hello, Pedro. I have no idea what that means, but welcome to the stream. All right, so we got that there. Let's go ahead and mask it. Cool. And if you look here in the mask is a bit corrupt. But that's okay. We can go ahead and use our brush and just kind of like remove that or add additional masking to it, right? And right here on this one too, we might want to use our eraser tool just to soften this edge a bit. There we go. Look at that. That's looking really good, huh? So Christina mentions, since the hand is backlit, could it be darker or maybe be transparent, like a ghost or an illusion? Well, the thing is, like the hand, right, and the block were, they're one flattened object, right? So we've only got like the one layer with that. So, I mean, I could go back into Stager and I could export, I could render both of these things separately, which is kind of something I wish we had the ability to do inside of Stager, is to specify like, yes, I want you to render this scene, but I want you to render it in different layers, right? Each model per layer. I think that would be like a really great improvement for a Stager, so that when you do bring it into Photoshop, right, you can have a little more flexibility with your layers. I'm gonna switch this to soft light. You can see right here with soft light, you can actually see quite a bit more of what we have going on inside of this block, right? Inside of our render. And I'm thinking that's pretty good. So we got Substance 3D Stager. Backing up from that, we've got Substance 3D Sampler, which I've created this custom material. We're using Firefly for generative photography here, and we've integrated all of it with inside of a Photoshop composition without, you know, a whole lot of manipulation. Of course, you could take this way further. You could pull it like here. Like, there's some junk that Firefly rendered here, right? Like, what's that? Yeah, we could clean that up a bit. Maybe we will. I don't know. We could use Spot Healing Brush, right? Which is with, wait. I can never remember where it is. Quick Selection Tool, no. Oh, here we go. Spot Healing Brush tool. So yeah, we could use this. And that's not gonna work unless I have the right layer selected, right? There we go. There we go, look at that. Even just a little bit, kind of cleans it up a bit. Looking for any other weird artifacts that Firefly might have come up with. This one up here, at the top of the tree, is a little strange. Let's just get rid of that. Very good. So yes, you know, something else we could do. Let's do this one more thing. Oh, Pedro, Iron Maiden. I'm not familiar. I know the name, but sorry. Pedro says bad joke. Yeah, it's just I'm not altogether as aware of some things as I should be sometimes. But I think what we're gonna do is actually add an additional layer to this. This is one thing I like to do to kind of blend things together sometimes, especially if I'm compositing different elements inside of Photoshop. I like to actually intentionally add some grain to things. So that's what I'm gonna do. I got layer 2 right here, and I'm gonna choose for my foreground color just a very flat medium gray, right? And choose the paint bucket tool and just dump that over there. There we go. We've got our gray layer, and then, you know, I'm gonna rename it to be something like noise or grain or whatever. Let's rename layer 0 to Firefly. And layer 1, that's going to be my shadows. There we go. All right, cool. So, noise. Let's make some noise. Filter, noise. Let's add noise. Easy enough. All right, with that noise added, since it's in a different layer, of course, we can change the blend mode, change the opacity, and all the rest. So, I mean, that's pretty extreme, right? A color burn might work out. Let's take the opacity down. Something like that, right? Gotcha. I think this is done. And it's noontime. I've got my, what are they called? Countertop templating people coming for my countertop. They're gonna cut my granite slabs to fit and everything, so they need to do a template first. So that window is starting right now, which is perfect because we just finished this composition. So yeah, this is the last in a series of 3. If you want to see how I created the texture, how I set things up in Stager and rendered that out, you know, the replays are here. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and export this. And again, I will import this guy or upload this as a project in Behance following the conclusion of this stream. So thank you everyone for showing up. Christina and Pedro and Kevin and anybody else who's stuck around here. Thank you. And I'll be back likely next week, same time with something else. So I'm not quite sure yet. Don't have it scheduled out that far, so we'll think of something fun though. Maybe I'll do some animate, because I love animate, obviously. From my animate book that's above my head. All right, cool. Thanks everyone, and have a nice rest of your week all.